Hello and welcome to GradResearch Live. Thank you all so much for coming. My name is Chad Gilpin. I'm the Program Manager for Graduate Student Professional Enhancement in the Graduate School. That's a mouthful, but what that means is I get the opportunity to work with all of the wonderful graduate students around campus, and it's an absolute pleasure. You guys are about to hear some of the amazing research that's going on around campus. We're really excited to hear that tonight. I'm going to give you a rundown of what we're going to do tonight, and then I'm going to turn the mic over for a few minutes. First, our acting director of the graduate school is going to give us a welcome. Then I'm going to introduce you to GradResearch Live and the 3-minute thesis competition, which is what we'll be going through tonight. And then we'll talk about some of the rules. I'll introduce you to our judges, and we'll kick it off with a pre-3-minute thesis. I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but that's a pre-3-minute thesis competition. And after that, we'll jump right into the 3-minute thesis competition. After each track, we'll have the audience able to vote via QR code for their favorite presenter. And then after all of the presentations for both tracks, our judges will vote on first, second, and third place for each track. And then at the very end, we will announce the winners. All right? All right. Thank you all again for coming. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Associate Provost for Academic Affairs and the Acting Director of the Graduate School, Dr. Brandy Frisbee.
Good evening, everyone. I am so excited by this turnout and the energy in the room. Thank you all so much for joining to celebrate our students and their hard work. I first want to start by thanking our judges. We are really appreciative of the time and the thought that you will put into these presentations today and the time and thought you've already put into the submissions that came for this competition. Thanks to the advisors and the faculty members in the room. Your support of students from day one until the finish of their journey is critically important to their success. And thank you to the students for innovating, for exploring, for your curiosity, and for your willingness to make an impact on the world through your research. I'm really excited about the topics I saw on the program today. Can't wait for us to get started, and I know that we'll all learn a lot today. So thank you all for making this event such a success, and thank you to Chad for all of his work to make this event a success year after year. We're appreciative of you as well.
Thank you. Excuse me, thank you so much. And along those lines, I'd also like to thank Joseph Lutz. Joseph, raise your hand. Woo. Ashley Sorrell, Aaron Benjamin, and I'm sure there's someone I left out, but thank you all so much for your help making this event happen. We really appreciate it. The 3-minute thesis is an international competition that occurs. It began at the University of Queensland in 2008, and it is now spread to over 1,000 universities in over 85 countries. It is an excellent graduate research communication competition. It's a challenge for graduate students to distill their research into a way that they can, first of all, communicate it to a general audience, and second of all, do so in 3 minutes or less with a single slide. But it's a great way to bridge academia and the general public, and to share all the incredible research that happens here at the university. The University of Kentucky held its first 3MT competition in 2014, and then in 2018 we expanded it with what we call a pre-3MT track, where we allow folks who are earlier in their research to participate without having like final results to share, so that they can begin to practice and ideally come back. I know we've got at least one, maybe two competitors in the 3MT track tonight who have participated in the pre-3MT before. So we are really excited about that. Here are the rules. A single static slide. So there's just going to be one slide, no movement, nothing like that. It's going to be the backdrop of the presentation. No electronic media, no additional props. So unfortunately, nobody's going to be playing guitar or anything like that. It's up to each presenter to craft and distill that narrative that they're going to share with you. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. We've got a timer. Anybody that goes over, they're out. so wrap it up, presenters, if you're getting to 3 minutes. And presentations are considered to have commenced when the presenter starts the presentation through movement or speech. If anybody's nervous, they can come up here and take a deep breath and wait, and then when they actually start, we'll start the timer. And finally, the decision of the judges is final, all right? I would like to give a special thanks again to our judges and introduce them. We have John Blaine, the Director of the Center for Graduate and Professional Services. John, thank you so much. Will Boos, Proposal Development Officer with, oh yeah, let's clap, sorry. Go ahead. I'm burning through it. Will Boos, Proposal Development Officer with the Proposal Development Office. Dr. Kendra Hargis Stenzel, Director of Innovation and Talent Development with Launch Blue. And Isaac Wink, Research Data Librarian with UK Libraries. Again, we thank you guys for coming out tonight. We really appreciate you doing this for us, and we're eager to share the presentations with you. All right, everybody, please take a moment to silence your cell phones. I'm going to do the same thing right now. Okay, good. And with that, I'd like to start with the pre-3MT research showcase. Our first presenter tonight is Hamas Khalid, and he's going to be speaking. The title of his presentation is From Ash to Technology, Turning Coal Waste into Treasure. Hamas?
We have all heard about green revolution, but have you ever wondered what powers that green revolution? The magnets in our wind turbines, the batteries in our electric vehicles, and even the guidance system in our missiles. All of them rely on a very small group of elements called rare earth elements. Despite their name, they are not actually rare. What's rare is finding them in concentrated mineral forms. And here lies the problem. Over 85% of the world rare earth supply is coming from China. And in the recent years, we have seen trade bans, rising export tensions, and even the weaponization of supply chains. So we need our own secure and permanent source of rare earth elements. And that's where my research begins. Not in a lab, but in a waste produced by coal-fired power plants, something an industrial nation already have. Now, when we heard about the word coal or coal tailings or coal ash, we obviously go back to, oh, it's a waste, we are producing waste. It's seen as a liability. But in that very coal tailings, there lie an unexpected treasure. Those same rare earth elements that we can use to produce our clean energy. Now, when we extract these rare earth elements from coal, we are able to secure our resource chain. We are able to produce job enhancements and furthermore things. Now, what we do in our lab at Mining Engineering Department, we start with taking the coal and separate it using a process called flotation, in which we physically separate the rare earth elements from those coal tailings. After that, when we have that clay-enriched minerals that is now enriched with those rare earth elements, we have to make them chemically accessible. For that, we go into a procedure called leaching. Now, in that leaching procedure, we use dilute acids that can extract those rare earth elements from those tailings. Once we have now those leached solutions that engrave that rare earth elements in them, we take it to a procedure called solvent extraction. Now, what solvent extraction does is use some extractants that can physically and chemically both separate those rare earth elements from each other. And once that we have that, we roasted that material, and now we have the high purity rare earth oxides. Now, what's interesting in this procedure is that we are not using new mining. We are already taking a stream waste that has been wasted and converting it into a byproduct that we can use to fuel our resource energy. Now, when I say that turning coal waste into treasure, it's not just a metaphor. We are actually making it a working reality in our labs and in our pilot plant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hamas. We're going to give our judges just a couple minutes after each presentation to finish up making notes, jotting their scores down, and then as soon as Ashley gives me the head nod, we'll move forward. All right. Our next presenter is Maddie Kushner, and the title of her presentation is Using Text Messages to Personalize Borderline Personality Treatment. Give it up for Maggie. Everybody on Zoom, hang with us. We had some technical difficulties with Maddie's microphone, but we know that it happened. We're going to make sure that the rest of the presenters can be heard online. I'm very sorry about that. She did an excellent job and was projecting so everybody in the room could hear her very well. Our next presenter is Tiffany Odita. The title of her presentation. The title of Tiffany's presentation is Stopping Cancer Spread with Gold.
Is cancer terrible? Is it the worst thing that can happen to someone? See, I don't think so. Shocking, right? But here's the thing, metastasis is far scarier than cancer. Because even the American Cancer Society emphasizes that most cancer deaths happen because of metastasis. In fact, research has shown that about 90% of mortality associated with cancer happens because of metastasis. So metastasis is the real monster. It is far worse than cancer. But then, where is metastasis, you might ask? Let's think of it this way. Having cancer is like having a small fire on your stovetop. Is it scary? Yes. Is it dangerous? Also yes. But it is stoppable. You can get a fire extinguisher, you can put out that fire. Now, imagine that same fire spreading beyond your kitchen, racing through the walls, consuming the entire house, possibly leaping to the next house. See that uncontrollable and unstoppable spread? That's metastasis. When cancer spreads to distant organs in your body, like the liver and the kidney, it pushes the body to its limits. Sadly, once metastasis begin, we reach the point of no return. Because at this stage, treatments lose their power. Organ failure becomes inevitable. And unfortunately, there is currently no treatment for metastasis. But this is where my research comes in. You see, I am focused on attacking this difficult problem by fighting these malfunctioning proteins that help cancer spread. See, these are the bad proteins that help cancer move, invade, and colonize other parts of the body. And to fight this spread, I am using something very remarkable and truly mind-blowing. Gold. Yes, gold, exactly like the jewelry you have on, but in defined quantities and amounts, designed to give gold-based compounds that can truly fight this metastasis spread. And so far, the results are remarkable. 2 of them astonishing. We've seen that these gold chemicals can, for a fact, kill cancer, but more importantly, it can stop them from spreading from one point to another. In other words, we can keep this fire contained and quenched. Right now, I am testing this out in cancer cell models in my lab. But very soon, I'll be going into animal studies to see how well this works in real system. Because my research goal is to investigate more of these gold molecules once we can truly stop metastasis spread. Because I mean, it's always better to prevent a fire than trying to rebuild after one burns everything down, right? So if we can change metastasis, if we can quench this fire, we can give people more than just treatments. We can give them time. We can give them chance. Thank you.
All right, our next presenter and final presenter in the pre-3MT track is Alhaji Cissé. The title of his presentation is Groundwater Availability and Quality in Kentucky Aquifers. Everybody welcome Alhaji.
can we live without water? And how often do we think about the source and quality of our drinking water? Hi, my name is Ahaji Sisi, and my research is about groundwater quality and availability in 2 different aquifers in Kentucky. So I will be dealing with the first location, which is Western Kentucky. And for this region, it's not part of our usual karst aquifer. It is actually a kind of terrain that is manned with movement of groundwater from the surface to the subsurface is really slow. And for that reason, contamination is not a problem. And so, how does this kind of region with slow movement of water from surface to subsurface actually respond to groundwater situations in future? To do that, I'll be looking at United States Geological Survey's data set for this area that comprises of rainfall, stream flow, and groundwater level data. The objective of my analysis is to look how this region will how much rainfall will become recharged in the area, or how much climate change will affect water resources in this particular region. The second research area has to do with the central Kentucky. And for this reason, I'll be dealing with Royal Spring. Royal Spring is the main source of drinking water for over 30,000 Georgetown community residents. And so for this region, it is part of karst aquifer. What that means is that the movement of water from the surface to the subsurface is really fast, and so does contaminant. That means contaminant is a problem. So there comes a need for us to actually investigate contaminants in real time. To do that, I'll be looking at a dye tracing technique from KY Horse Park, which believed to have a conduit network from here all the way to Royal Spring. And I'll also do that together with TARC, and I'll be looking at real-time sensors, which include 7F and C3. And what that will do is that they will give me how fast contaminant will travel from KY Horse Park all the way to Royal Spring. It will also tell me when contaminant peak at Royal Spring, and how fast does this contaminant actually move, and what water quality will be like at Royal Spring. These are the things that I'll be looking at for this region. So the result of this research will tell me how groundwater would behave during climatic conditions and how contaminants will travel in karst aquifers. So groundwater may be hidden from our sight, but if we look at it, if we protect it, we see how contaminants travel in it. We'll be protecting ourselves, we'll be protecting our springs, we'll be protecting our lives, because our lives actually depends on groundwater. Thank you.
That concludes the pre-3MT track. There is a QR code on the screen. You can use that to vote for your favorite presenter. There's also a short URL there that you can use if the QR code is not working for any reason. You are only allowed to vote once, but we're aware that there are some ways around that. So I'm going to be shutting this down pretty quick. If you want to vote, you got to vote quick, all right? You've got about 30 more seconds to vote, and I'm going to shut it off, okay? All right, 10-second warning. It's closed. I hope everybody got their vote in. All right, now we are going to move to the 3MT presentations. The rules are all the same, except these presenters should have more conclusions or results in their projects. They're coming to the end of their studies, and they've sort of begun to see the fruits of their work, okay? So they're going to share that with you as well. Our first presenter is Allison Ackerman, and the title of her presentation is Nature's Cure for Cancer, Upgrading Ancient Remedies with Modern Chemistry.
All right, we're good. Set the timer. We're good. Yeah, we're good. All right, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand if you or a loved one have been impacted by cancer. Because frankly, it'd be a whole lot quicker to ask who here hasn't been. Instead, I want to ask if you've ever heard of a plant getting cancer. Tree cancer? Grass cancer? No? Maybe you just don't spend enough time outside? But it's true. Plants don't get cancer like humans do. They can experience tumors and unregulated growth, but it doesn't spread throughout their whole system. And the reason for this is multifaceted. But today we're focusing on one key component, lignans. Lignans are small chemical compounds in plants that act as antioxidants, antimicrobials, and hormone regulators. And in 2020, one specific lignan, macalin D, was found to kill triple-negative breast cancer cells, the most aggressive and least treatable form of breast cancer. Now, macalin D can be extracted from plants that have been used for centuries in traditional Chinese medicine. But the yield is low. You can take all the bark off of one big Japanese bay tree and get enough macalin D for one dose. That's not sustainable. Instead, we found a way to replicate this compound in our lab, improving the yield 100,000 times over. Even better, we found a way to modify this compound in lab. And by changing this one tiny group, we've made our compound 6 times more potent. And we can prove this in real triple-negative breast cancer cells, moving from 100% cell growth with no treatment to 50% with the original macalin D to complete cell death with our laboratory-improved compound without impacting the normal healthy cells in the same way. Now, the concept of plant-based medicine is not new. Humans have been crushing berries, chewing bark, and steeping leaves for centuries. But today, we have the power to determine why these natural remedies work. Today, we have the ability to replicate and improve these natural compounds, making better medicine with fewer side effects. Today, there is no cure for cancer, but with this technology, maybe tomorrow, there will be.
Our next presenter is Odienison Ewa, and the title of his presentation is You Can Have It All, Paper and Planet.
Unlike my predecessor, I'm going to ask you to raise up your hands if you like writing down things on paper. Okay, me too. But do you know that paper is killing you? Not the finished product you have in your hands, your books, or your packaging, but how we make them. And if you've been around the paper mill, you will notice a rotten egg smell. That smell is your indication the paper is killing us. That smell tells the story of a hidden environmental price we pay for a product we use every day. The question is not whether we need paper. It's whether we keep on paying this price with our health and with our environment. The problem lies in a century-old recipe where wood is boiled in harsh chemical, a process known as craft pulping that gives us paper but generates a lot of dirty wastewater and polluting gases. This wastewater strain our downstream rivers, as in the case of August 9, 2020 in Delta County, Michigan, where a paper mill pipe failure led to the damage of rivers and its wildlife. These polluting gases also fuel longer seasons of heat waves and wildfires. This recipe has left us with a compounding debt rolling over for decades, and its effect is damaging our planet. But enough with paying this debt. The good news is that my research can enable us have a new recipe, a process which we're calling the deputatic solvent popping technology. Instead of harsh chemical, I use a gentle plant-derived liquid, the DES itself, to remove the natural occurring binder, lignin, for wood, giving us clean paper, but leaving behind the removed lignin and our beautiful solvent ready for separation. How do we separate them? I have been able to make a very thin filter called a membrane. So fine, it's like a high-tech coffee filter. This membrane allows us to separate our valuable lignin from our benign solvent, allowing the solvent pass through perfectly separated and ready for reuse. This makes the process highly sustainable. But this is not just about making the process cleaner. It's about turning the waste into what? In the lab, and already published, I have been able to efficiently recover over 75% of this lignin, rather than it being burnt in the case of craft pulping that generates polluting gases. This lignin can be transformed into value-added products like fertilizer that will enrich our environment. With DES popping technology, we don't have to rebuild paper mills from ground up. We simply have to swap toxic ingredients for cleaner and smarter ones. So the next time you hold a piece of paper, a receipt, a napkin, or even the paper you're using to judge me right now, imagine a different story, one of cleaner water and fresher air. We don't have to choose between our paper and planet. With DES popping technology, we can have it all. A paper that tells our story and a planet that keeps them alive. Thank you.
Our next presenter is Fatima Hamedi, and the title of her presentation is As Simple as a Pulse Oximeter. Can we do the same for the brain?
Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? Good? Perfect. Let's take a moment and imagine you are sitting with your friends, families, parents, or beloved one. You are talking, laughing, and sharing memories. But one day, they are all gone. You can no more remember them. You cannot walk or even talk. That's scary, yeah? This is the condition of people with neurological disease. Disease like Alzheimer, stroke, Parkinson. Did you know that 1/3 people are affected by this neurological disease? The global cost is about $2.5 trillion. However, the good news is that early diagnosis could change the story. There are two main signals which can help us to early diagnose disease soon before symptoms appear: brain blood flow and oxygenation. Despite the significance of these two signals, current devices which can monitor them are limited by being super expensive and bulky. Devices like MRI or CT scan. Did you know that for single time using MRI device, it will cost a person an average of $2,000? That's a huge amount of money. Therefore, there is a gap in market and in clinics for brain blood flow monitoring. And that's when our journey has begun. As a biomedical engineers, we have invented a wearable optical sensor which can monitor both blood flow and oxygenation in the brain simultaneously. The sensor is set on a headset, headband, so you can wear it at home, at work, in the clinics, or in the hospital. It contains a single laser diode which shines light through the tissue, and it has a tiny camera which captures the signals. We also developed a software which shows real-time continuous signals. That's amazing. NIH has recognized our work, and our preliminary study on human subjects were significant. We have published in high-ranked journals, and now we are collaborating with clinicians to introduce our device into the real life and real world. Hopefully, one day, of course, with the help of technology, we're going to have healthier, longer life. Thank you.
Our next presenter is Rebecca Hutchinson, and the title of the presentation is Keeping Foals Where They Belong, Understanding and Preventing Premature Labor.
Okay, so I know that what I'm about to say might sound a little bit biased, but I think that working in equine reproduction is one of the most exciting jobs you could have. I've essentially spent the past few summers surrounded by a bunch of super cute baby horses, which is just as awesome as it sounds, unless you're someone that's scared of them. But I've had an incredible time. More important part of our job, though, isn't just getting to hang out with those cute babies, but ensuring that they are actually the outcome from our pregnant mares. Unfortunately, a disease that can sometimes get in the way of this is called equine ascending placentitis. It's a disease affecting our pregnant mares that's actually the leading cause of abortions and stillbirth in the equine industry. Firstly, though, I want to talk a little bit about a healthy pregnancy. You're going to have a baby in the uterus, getting everything it needs, growing, developing, and then only once that baby's ready will labor commence and that foal will be born. These babies are essentially moving out on their own terms. If we compare that to placentitis, however, these babies will essentially be getting an early eviction notice. Bacteria are going to ascend into the uterus, will then cause a cascade of events to occur. Bacteria will cause infection, which leads to inflammation, and then ultimately uterine contractions that are the key event in initiating labor. When labor is initiated, though, before that baby's ready and developed, that's not going to be a viable foal. It's not going to be a good pregnancy outcome. That's going to be sad and frustrating to everybody involved. This is also a major source of economic loss in the equine industry. So, what are we trying to do about it? Well, we're focusing specifically on those uterine contractions. They're not well understood in horses, but since they play such a pivotal role in initiating labor, if we're able to better understand them, then we can apply what we learned to how we deal with placentitis. Specifically, what we've done is compared the gene expression in that muscle layer of the uterus that's actually contracting between healthy pregnancies and placentitis cases. And we found a bunch of genes that were associated with a bunch of different pathways. Most importantly, though, we found an upstream regulator called toll-like receptor 2. This receptor sits at the beginning of that cascade of events that I mentioned. It's going to be what's actually detecting those pathogens as they come in. Then you're going to get activation of your transcription factors, increased expression of all of those genes we found, and ultimately contractions. Moving forward, if we're able to find an antagonist or something to block toll-like receptor 2, and we can incorporate that into our treatment strategies, not only will this block those contractions and therefore the preterm labor that they cause, but it will decrease the detrimental and devastating effects this disease has on our industry, as well as helping us go towards our overall goal of ensuring that we have as many of those cute little babies every year as possible. Thank you.
We are officially halfway through the 3MT track presentation, so thank you all so much for hanging with us, and thanks to everyone on Zoom. Our next presenter is Courtney Martin. The title of the presentation is The Invisible Patients.
We can all think about someone that we care about. For me, one of those people are my precious granny, ma'am or mammy, who unfortunately passed away just a few weeks ago. While preparing for this presentation, I asked my sister a question, and with her permission, I'm sharing that conversation. I said, "How would you describe what you did for our granny?" She looked at me confused. She said, "What do you mean?" I was just doing what she would have done for me. One word that she didn't use was caregiver. Yet she was managing medications, appointments, meals, finances. Just like thousands across Appalachia, she was providing care every single day quietly. And that brings us to our research. We interviewed 72 dementia caregivers across Appalachia to assess their health and care needs. What we found was that 63% screened positive for anxiety or depression, 58% had worsening health conditions, and more than half of our entire sample hadn't been to the doctor in over a year. Why? Because they didn't have time to do so. When asked about resources, our participants said, "I don't have any help. There's no one I can ask." There was no support in their community. Yet research consistently shows that when caregivers are not supported, patients suffer. Patients are hospitalized more frequently. Their health declines rapidly. Yet there is no support for them. Within Kentucky, as you can see here, dementia caregivers provide an estimated 302 million hours of care every single year. This is valued at $4.8 billion worth of service. So to put this in perspective for you, the annual spending for Medicaid is $1.7 billion less. So what does that mean? It means that the majority of long-term care is happening at home with families by caregivers. So what do we do with this information? Well, our findings suggest that we must see caregivers as critical infrastructure to our healthcare system. We have to screen caregivers when we screen patients, and we must create programs such as adult day services, respite care, to ensure that caregivers have the support they need. Because the reality is, caregiver health and patient health are directly related. They're not adjacent to one another. Caregiver health is a core determinant of patient health. And the purpose of this work was to quantify something that has long been considered low, just like my sister, but something that truly is labor. Because the reality is, until we start considering caregivers part of our healthcare system, our system will never be whole, because caregivers are just one diagnosis away from becoming the next patients. Thank you all so much.
Our next presenter is Damilola Patindran. The title of the presentation is Nature's Janitor, How the Atmosphere Cleans Up After Wildfires.
Everybody, take a deep breath for me. Refreshing, right? But what if that air isn't clean, but carries chemicals in them? Remember the California wildfire? Homes and forests destroyed, our skies turned orange. And when the flame went out, we all thought the damage was over, but it wasn't. Wildfire smoke leaves behind invisible chemicals in the atmosphere that linger and stick. Just imagine how your countertops at home feel sticky due to frying on your stovetop due to settled oil. That is how sticky film from wildfire settle on particles, our own countertops in the sky. These particles continue to react in the atmosphere, quietly changing the air we breathe. Right? They can travel thousands of miles, aggravating asthma, heart and lung diseases, even in communities far from where the fire began. After all, the air has no partition. But nature didn't leave us without a plan. It has its own cleaning system, a built-in detergent called the hydroxy radical. Think of it as the atmosphere invisible janitor that breaks down pollutants and helps our planet reset itself. Scientists already know how most of these radicals are formed. But in my lab, we wondered, could there be a pollutant-powered cleanup system? Could pollutants on the countertops of the sky help produce hydroxy radical that cleans them up when they meet reactive gases in the atmosphere? That question drove my research. And to find out, I recreated the countertops of the sky in my lab. I made tin sheet of catechol, a common compound found in wildfire smoke, on surface and exposed it to ozone. Hydroxy radical, they are very tricky. They are invisible. They appear and disappear in a blink. And to catch them, I use a radical collector molecule called TPA that collects this hydroxy radical and form HOTPA that emit a signal that my instrument can measure. And as ozone level increased in my system, I realized that the signal increased. One, that's a proof that those surfaces were producing hydroxy radical. And two, more of that hydroxy radical means cleaner air for us. What does this mean? The wildfire residue themselves can produce hydroxy radical that cleans them up. Those smoke particles, they aren't just pollution. They are tiny reactors that drive the atmosphere recovery. And this process shows us how the atmosphere removes that very pollutants that harm our health and our climate. So next time you see that orange flame from a distant wildfire, remember, the story doesn't end when the fire goes out. Nature is already at work, clean up its mess. So go ahead, keep breathing. Nature got you covered. Thank you.
Our second to last presenter is Aisha Riaz. The title of the presentation is, I Wish I Looked Like That.
Yeah. All right. Oh my God, there's so many of you here. Okay. So I'm sure we all are aware of social media by now, and we do know that how bad it can get for us at times. Then why do we still have it on our phones? That isn't because it helps us connect with the world, and that's the worst part about it. The word that makes us feel seen is the same word that keeps us in constant comparison. Now, I know comparison might seem like a women problem since media is constantly telling women what to look, what to wear, and how to fix. Yet, an affected part of the population remains unseen, and that is men. Where women are expected to take up less space, men are expected to fill more of it with a different standard. The standard to be tall, to be tough, and to be muscular. That's why I came here as a researcher to understand men's body image in online spaces. A phenomenon that has been very rarely discussed in literature, but is widely present around us. So what do we have so far? What I did, I brought together 6 focus group studies of men here in US, and we looked together at fitness influencers profiles of influencers from 2 different cultures, Western influencers and South Asian influencers. And I asked my participants one simple thing: What comes to your mind when you look at those posts? For Western influencers, my participants go like, wow, they are too bulky, too enhanced, and these bodies can only be achieved through steroids. While moving through South Asian influencers, my participants go like, okay, this is motivating enough to go to gym. This is achievable and attainable. So through my pilot study, what we discovered diverse perspective coming out from the same group of men, which ended up becoming the basis of my DFMNS scale, a digital fitness masculinity norm scale, a tool designed to understand how social spaces shape who men suppose they should be. Once developed, this scale will act as a tool to quantify men's perception in digital spaces. I know the bigger question comes, what is the application of my research? The application of my research is to understand men's mental health and to improve the interventions of men's mental health by looking at the literature gap. Other than this application, the implication of my research goes beyond this. The implication of my research goes beyond men's perception in online spaces by looking at other social issues that exist cross-culturally in digital spaces. Thank you so much.
Our final presentation of the evening is by Elham Zakai. What if we could stop cancers by cutting their fuel line?
I love candy. Does anyone else here love candy? A lot of you. So well do cancer cells. Cancer cells love sugar. As many of you know, cancer remains the second leading cause of death in the United States, which means we still need better therapeutics for our cancer patients. Today, I want to share an exciting new approach for cancer therapy based on sugar metabolism. Almost 100 years ago, a scientist named Otto Warburg discovered that cancer cells eat a lot more sugar than normal cells. He shows that while normal cells stop after just one piece of candy, cancer cells just keep eating. So you might think, what if we just stop eating sugar? Would cancer starve? The answer is no, because cancer cells are masters of adaptation. They can change many things, fats, proteins, and even dead cells into the food. And remember, our normal cell also needs energy to stay alive. So instead of cutting sugar out of our diet, we need to block the way that they process sugar, their metabolism. What if we just, like, for example, what thinks these sugars engine running so fast? Think of cancer cells are like a car, and sugar is their fuel. There is also a gas pedal in this car. In the real cell, this gas pedal is a protein called PFKFB3, which controls how fast sugar is burned. So What we did, we discovered that in cancer cells, there is an alteration in this gas pedal that make it hyperactive and burning sugar at the highest speed. And even more fascinating, we found another protein that installed this alteration on the gas pedal. And meanwhile, there is another protein act like a brake pedal, and which is often missing in many types of cancer. And without this brake pedal, the cancerous engine races out of control. So we found that it's like a pathway, and when we block this pathway, the cancer's growth slows down significantly, and it's like a potential new target for cancer therapy. So the good news is that we've got NIH grant to uncovering more detail about this pathway to design personalized medicine, because as you know, every person is different with their own genetics, diets, and environments. But they all have one thing in common. They all have to eat. And I want to starve them. Thank you so much.
That was our final presentation of the evening. Everybody, please give all of the presenters a huge round of applause. Thank you all. That was excellent. We are now going to do the People's Choice voting for the 3MT track. Again, I'll give everybody 2 to 3 minutes as our judges wrap up their scoring. They are going to, go ahead. They're going to go back to a room to discuss the winners, and that'll be, 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll be back up to announce. So everybody go ahead and vote for People's Choice, and then I'll give you, another 1 minute warning and 10-second warning on that, okay? This is your 1 minute warning on People's Choice voting. If you haven't voted, get it in now. Ten-second warning. Vote now. Voting is now closed. We will wait for our judges' decisions, and I'll come back up to announce our winners. Thank you all. Our judges are still deliberating because it is a very tight contest, so everybody hang out for just a few more minutes, okay? All right, everybody, before I announce the winners, I want to ask all of the participants to stick around and get some pictures afterwards, okay? If you can stick around for just a little while, we want to get some pictures of you guys on stage. We would really appreciate that. I am going to start with the pre-3MT. We'll go third, second, first, okay? In third place, Maddie Kushner. Great job, Maddie. Whatever you want to do. And Maddie wins $150. Second place, winner of $250, Hamas Khalid. Congratulations. All right, and for first place, $500 and People's Choice, an additional $150, Tiffany Odita. All right, now for our 3MT track, we'll start with People's Choice. Damalola Patinran, winner of $250. Third place, also winner of $250, Odionosin Ewa. Second place, winner of $500, Courtney Martin. And first place, winner of $750 and gets the right to go on and represent UK in the regional 3MT competition in Baton Rouge, Louisiana in February, Allison Ackerman. Again, thank you all so much for your presentations. They were excellent. Special thanks to our judges for sticking around. We really appreciate them. Come on up for photos, all right?